ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Good morning and welcome back to Triad ASEAN. You are listening to ASEAN Dailies and I am Grace Cho. So this segment we'll be talking about and also discuss about what's happening around Southeast Asia. So the first news that we have here is about the election that Myanmar held last year, and finally it was a historical day that in Myanmar as Aung San Suu Kyi's NLD party finally takes over. So it is definitely a day for her and also her supporters who have been waiting for more than 2 decades. So this Nobel Peace Prize leader and also leader of the National League for Democracy NLD will finally take over her seat at the head of Myanmar's government when the new parliament sits on Monday. So when you think about it, it comes 26 years after Suu Kyi won a substantial parliamentary majority and the parliamentary elections in 1990. And honestly, the result was subsequently nullified, and 2 months after the NLD's landslide victory in 2015. So from 1990 to 2015, it took really long time for somebody who's waiting for and to be able to sit in the parliament again to rule the country. So it was just last week. There was the outgoing President Thein Sein pledged that the member of the old government would cooperate with the next government to bring peace and as well as development to the country. There were lots of ups and downs, of course, in Myanmar, but whatever has been done during the past 5 years is aimed at the restoration of peace and tranquility. Of course, that's according to the former military commander mentioned that. So definitely when it comes to democracy, it was a long fight in Myanmar. And now the President Suu Kyi spent much of the time between each of her election victories as guarded prisoner in her own home in Yangon. So when she was under the house arrest, she became an international face of the fight for democracy, and of course with UN Secretary Ban Ki-moon in year 2012, and calling her the global symbol of progress. So with this progressive work and also final sit with Aung San Suu Kyi in Myanmar, there are lots of hope and expectation. They are flowing from the public. So we talk about what changes that already lie ahead. Supporters, they really wish and hope that within the constraint imposed by legacy of military rule, Suu Kyi's NLD will succeed in improving human rights in the country. And of course, I have to repeat this, where human rights plays a really vital role in Southeast Asia, and it is that has long stifled personal freedoms. Rohingya issues one of them. Gender issues one of them. Some reservations still exist, however, about Aung San Suu Kyi's position on the persecuted minority Rohingya populations. Well, this is quite serious, especially was highlighted last year when they were rejected by 3 countries, surrounding countries, for them to enter them to find their own shelter. So Myanmar still sort of refuses to recognize them as Burmese citizens, and it's severely restricting their access to work, travel, healthcare, education, even their lifestyle, marriage, having children. So that's why many have fled on unseaworthy boats run by human traffickers, and others are also languishing in an impoverished camp in Myanmar as well. And on the other hand, there were also quite disturbing pictures of how these people were buried and just thrown out. And those are the things that Myanmar really needs to look into. And with having Aung San Suu Kyi as a leader now, it is very important that these whole Burmese people's voices need to be heard. So Of course, these people from Myanmar and the international community, they have high expectation that the Suu Kyi's government will reverse the right abuses and unjust laws. And according to the Phil Robertson, who is Human Rights Deputy Asia Director, he said, the new government should urgently release political prisoners, revoke abusive laws, and end discrimination against the Muslim and other minorities, or it will soon be facing crisis of its own making, which totally makes sense. I do agree with this statement because Myanmar is also a diverse country where it holds a different types and various minorities, races are there. And if Myanmar just focuses on one type or one race, how about the others who have not been taken care of properly by the government? So that's a big question. So there are lots of hope and expectation towards this transition in Myanmar. Finally, the voice of a democracy will be heard, and hopefully it will have a progressive steps forward to make the betterment of the future. Moving on to the next news about just the surrounding countries in Thailand. The nation faces the greatest shortage of skilled labor in ASEAN, and of course this is according to the World Bank. Well, Thailand will face, like I mentioned, the biggest shortage, and this is one of the biggest problem when it comes to education and the skilled people in the job market. And of course, according to the research, it was shown that they are definitely lacking what they are supposed to have, and it is not, of course, easy to move forward. However, small steps will do, especially with the ASEAN Economic Community was started taking place. So the survey, which was conducted between 2006 and 2009, also shows that about only 38.8% of workers are suitable for a job they're doing. Once again, it is of course putting Thailand at the lowest in ASEAN. Well, Thailand may be known for having beautiful and attractive attraction in tourism, but when it comes to job market, Thailand still ranks one of the lowest in ASEAN. And well, the Thailand education system, compared to Singapore, Malaysia, or even Vietnam there, it is seem to be failed to provide the right skills to people, and of course that resulting in the creation of workforce that does not match the job available. Therefore, the change is very urgent and necessary, so the students can be armed with the right skills to meet the employer's need. And there are a lot of other conferences and the forums being held to discuss more about the vocational training and the building up more universities and the flexible curriculum for students. Because after all, these younger generations are the future of the nation. And the current reform plan will not be like the efforts made earlier, as they are working with every segment, including public, private, and the government sectors to define these local needs and also fill them with the right skills. So we'll take a very short break. Think about this situation in Thailand. When all of us in ASEAN really try hard to meet the ASEAN Economic Community status, as well as to improve, to have or produce more skillful laborhood. So I'll be back shortly after this break to continue this segment with you. So stay tuned.